Hello. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Welcome. Pipe, Natalia,
Hi, guys.
Andreas.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
How's it going where you are?
At home.
At home? Have you just woken
Yeah.
up?
So, what do you mean?
Have you just woken up?
No.
No, you've been up early and out for a run
I
already?
woke up earlier, so I had time to find interesting topic. I sent it to you. Maybe just would be.
Right. No, I haven't
Okay.
opened Skype yet. Or
Yes. And just I
okay.
was watching the wonderful video. It was fantastic. So I just
Okay.
sent it to you. Yeah.
And how about you guys? Have you been up long? Yes, Pipe. It's afternoon, isn't it, in Bangkok? What have you been doing today?
No, today is a Saturday.
Yes.
I don't do anything.
Just relaxing
Take a
at
rest.
home? No.
Yes, relaxing at home.
And what time is it there in Germany? Must be quite early.
It's 9 o'clock today, but 1 hour later than usually.
Yes, right.
So
I will let you have breakfast today.
yes, it was a bit more convenient, but
Good. Yes, I try to keep this space from now on. I think it's, yes, for people in Europe, it's easier.
How about the weather? do you have a wonderful weather?
Yes, it is quite nice at the moment. It's a little bit warmer than it was just the last few days, but there's still some breeze. It's quite pleasant.
And how about the temperature?
I'm guessing it's probably about 28 or 29.
Wow. Wonderful.
In the afternoon. Yes.
So we have minus 15, and so just we expect minus 25 on Monday.
Oh my goodness.
oh.
That's
And is there snow?
Yeah, everywhere. It's snowing, and it started to snow so a lot of snow everywhere. It's really in the park. It's kind of like a fairy tale because on the tree, all trees and everything is white.
yes, really nice. Hello, Francesco.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, welcome to the group. We're just talking about the weather in our various places. What's it like in Italy this morning?
This morning is sunny day, little cloudy. I think it's freezing
Okay,
outside.
freezing. Natalia was just telling us about the temperature in Moscow, which is, did you say minus 15?
Yes, minus 15.
Oh, well. No, not that way.
Yeah.
Let me check, but I think almost 1 or 2 degrees.
That's quite crisp. Yes, quite fresh compared to, I was just saying it's still quite cool in Thailand, only 28 degrees today. Celsius. Not too hot, right?
We have to wait until summer to have 20 degrees.
Yes, it's quite a range of temperatures. Okay, good. So thanks everybody for coming today, and I hope you got the email. And sorry, I didn't have a video this time, but I have put together something of a presentation, so we can perhaps go through it and look at the questions. So I just first of all want to ask all you guys about your reading habits, especially in English, especially in the foreign language, the language we're learning at the moment. What do you read? Do you enjoy reading, or do you have to read for work, or do you try and avoid reading wherever possible?
You mean in English, yes?
In English first, yeah, primarily in English in a foreign language. And Pipe, can I ask you first of all? You were first to join today.
Yes. Yes, I use reading when I work. I use many skill for the reading, but I think it's I not receive email from the owner the language. I just receive from another country. It's not England.
So not native speakers,
Yes, yes, not native
but other
speaker.
nationalities. What nationalities do you speak to via email?
Mainly I receive email from China because my company have a business center at China.
Right. And do you find them easy to understand?
Sure, I can copy it to the Google Translate to Thai.
Okay, that's yes. It can be useful, can't it? But how about if you don't use Google Translate? Are you able to understand most of them?
I think many words is same. It's used many times in email. I think I can guess, but I'm not sure. I will use Google Translate.
Yes, sure. It's a good backup tool. Okay, thank you, Pipe. Let me ask Andreas or Natalia.
Do you want to go first?
Yes, when I start. So just when I started to learn English, so just like 15, maybe 15 years ago. So of course I try to be focused on everything in English. I try to listen, I try to read, and so just my first English books were adapted versions of classical books, and then I started to read even such old classic books like Jane Austen or something like that. It was really difficult, very, very difficult because these English and these books, there are a lot of adverbs and adjectives, and so it's really, I always stop and find this word in the dictionary. It was really difficult. But I was thinking, because I'm a reader, I like to read and I like a lot of books in Russian. So you know that I read a lot, and so I can imagine myself without a book in the metro. So just I have a long way to the office, 1 hour and a half at least. So of course I can read. I can read. I can listen to something, or maybe to music, or to the audio book. And I was thinking that but I know that when you read a lot, so just like in Russian, in your motherland, your vocabulary is getting extended, and so you can say like classical authors, you just like use these words in your speech, and so. But it didn't happen to me when I started to. Yes, it was not the same way. So I was really in shock because I read a lot. I tried to read, and so just I thought that it's a kind of a difference when you read in your language, in other language, or just if you read foreign language books in foreign language in English. And so you can your brain, I think that about myself, my experience, I could not use these phrases or words in my speech at once after reading. So I had to write down these words, phrases, and it's kind of like a really long way just to make this vocabulary active. So you have to try to write them down, to write sentences, and so it's really not the same way how we just use. So just for in Russian, it takes, just for me, it's like when I read something, I can explain it in the same way, in the same style, just using these phrases. But in English, no, I use some kind of really easy words or phrases that really that they came to my mind first. So it's kind of really different process. And so just yes, and I try. I continue to read, but less than before.
Okay, thanks for that. We will come back to you, but it's an interesting point you make about moving vocabulary from the passive, where we know what a word means if we read it or if we see it, to active, to being able to use those words in our own speech. Yes. How about you, Andreas? Have you always been a keen reader? Is it something that you naturally, when you read English, when you learn English, do you like to read? And what kind of reading do you like to do?
Yes, I like to read. I like to read in German and in English as well. I normally have a few books at the same time read to a certain degree. And I read them parallel.
Right.
I also like to read articles in magazines, for example, the National Geographic in English. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to get them in the original language because they are also available in German and provided everywhere. And I have to seek for the English version, for the original version. And for me, it's important. I want to read things I'm interested in because there are also magazines especially designed for English learners where difficult words are underlined and translated also, but they are so boring. And
Right.
I tried to start with them up, but I gave it up because it's boring and it's not relevant for me. So I try to find stuff I'm interested in. For example, your last week's book, Happiness and Success. It's engaging for me, and I already downloaded it from the bookshop because I'm interested
Good.
in the topic itself.
Yes.
But I also totally agree with Natalia. For me, it's the question to what extent I should look up every word that makes me, on the other hand, struggle with reading. It blocks me reading. And if I look up words or phrases, I'm not able to use them at this moment. So I'm not sure, is it more relevant to consume a lot of reading? This is how I understand Mr. Kaufman in the video, or is it more important to go deeply into the stuff you read and work with the books I am reading?
That's that's a good point. And also the point of how you deal with new vocabulary that you come across. Do you stop and look in the dictionary? Personally, I find that Kindle is very good for that because you can instantly look and get the definition. You don't have to search. But even with Kindle, it does interrupt the flow. And
yes,
yeah,
I look up the words, maybe not every word. And as you say, it's very convenient to look it up in the a similar kind of Kindle. But I also can mark them, so I can write them down later when I'm not at bed or in the subway. Also at home, I can write them down in a notebook or in my vocabulary app to remember them, to learn them.
Yes, great. Thank you, Andreas. And may I come to you now, Francesco? How do you, if you're reading in English, what kind of reading do you like to do, and how do you try and absorb new vocabulary?
Yeah, I Andreas was talking about a vocabulary app. Do you use what kind of vocabulary app do you use? I'm interested because I'm reading a lot, but I always taking a note of some words, and then I forget where I take the note, and so I'm very chaotic person, maybe. So
Yeah, it's a spaced repetition app. I think there are some apps available for every language. I use one that is designed for German
okay.
words. There's a German English dictionary included, so I only have to
So you can take note in that app.
Yes, and there's a spaced repetition function, so it asks me to practice vocabulary in different intervals.
Okay.
Okay. But
I will look for an Italian version. Okay, thank you.
There is a general spaced repetition app which is very good, and I'll leave it in the notes here. It's called Anki, and you can have it on your phone or you can use it on a computer.
Yeah.
Maybe you've heard of it.
Yeah, I heard and I downloaded, but I forget to use.
Okay.
Okay.
You have to. Maybe you need another app to remind you.
Yeah. You know, we live submerged by app, and so sometimes you forget where to do. So my experience, it's I used to read a lot in my language, and of course, and then for work I have to read. But in my experience, my personal and most pleasure reading experience was I read all the Harry Potter books.
Okay, great.
All the series, and at the end I can't stand the translation, and so I bought the English version. And at the time, there wasn't the Kindle, and so I have to read in the real book.
Yep.
But you know everything because it was the last just the last two Harry Potter, and so I knew the term, I knew the some kind of words, and then I was I had a habit with that kind of novel, and so it was really a pleasure. I have the same difficulties with Jane Austen. I try to read Pride and Prejudice, but the problem wasn't that wasn't to understand. The problem was the pleasure of the reading for me. With some pain, I can read everything, but there are the shades that are that make the pleasure of reading, and so this is the difficult for me to have pleasure and to read and understand everything. The Kindle helps me very much because you can check the words in the dictionary. I use the not the translation, but I try to understand the meaning of the phrases, and so I try to understand more and to check a little less. I don't know if it's help reading a lot. I have to do, and so I try to read more than I can do. And my problem is always that I don't remember where I take note, and then I have a note here and the notes there, and it's a mess.
Okay, well, thank you for your contribution there. I think it's a good point, 2 points there. One about using a dictionary in English. So if you use the monolingual English dictionary, then you can learn, you're practicing your English and your brain is staying in the target language. So it's not, sometimes I'm guilty of, if I'm not sure, if you don't really understand the explanation in a language, it can be difficult, and then I can resort back to a direct translation. But I do try to use, for example, if I'm reading in French, I'll try to use a French to French dictionary. The other point was about, yes, reading. I've kind of forgotten the other point now. It may come back to me.
If you reading something that you know in your language, and then you maybe it was
yes,
Harry
that was
Potter.
it. Thank you. Exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, if you know, sometimes when you're reading a book, you want to get all the meaning, all the nuance, and you want to know the story. And if you're reading in a language you're trying to learn as well, you're not quite getting everything, and you're trying to learn. But if you know the story already, and then that can help you a lot, I think. If you then read, if there's a story you know, but you're reading it in the foreign language, in English in this case, then you can.
May I add something about this story? Yes, it's possible. For example, I read a lot of books, and it is like classical or just our Russian authors. But I decided for myself never to read English versions of our classical versions, our Russian literature, because it's not. Maybe it was the translation. Maybe that was. So for me, it's better just to read in English authors, just in original language. I think it's better to use English authors and to read in English. But Russian authors, for
But
me,
maybe
it's better to read in Russian.
Have you read any English works in Russian, perhaps?
Yes, I tried to read Dostoevsky, but it was not the same, because I know how it was written in Russian, and in English it's kind of like,
Yes,
for
never
me,
quite
it's
as good
better.
as the original.
Yeah,
Something is lost in the translation.
I cannot say that English, in this, because the translation, it's not good. And you can,
okay, maybe you need to work on a better one.
If you can read in your original language, it's better than just to read a translation, even for practice. It's better to take a really English authors, or maybe just the adapted books. It's better because of the language.
Okay, thanks. So now I want to come to Muk. Thanks. Welcome. How are you doing? And tell us, what about you? Do you like to, what are your reading habits?
Yes. I like reading the book like a novel, and I used to start with the hard one, my sister book, like a Lord of the Rings, and I finished just the first page. It's a lot of difficult vocabulary, and it's kind of boring at start.
Wow, he's really long-winded.
Yes, and it's so thick, the book actually.
Yeah.
And so I try to choose the book that like Francisco said, I have a pleasure to read it. So I chose the short one, like a Wonder, which has made to be a movie, and I think it's interesting, and I haven't watched it, so I decided to read it. And it's kind of the novel that it described in terms of a boy, and tell the story in the simple language, and I want to know what is going on, so I keep reading it until it ends.
Yeah, good.
So it make it more pleasure to read, and it taught me something about how to shape the language, because there include a lot of conversations in the family. like a conversation between son and mom, something like that.
Yes, good. That's another point. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now for a second and move on to reading in English. So maybe we've talked about news articles here, we've talked about emails and fictional books. What else is here is interesting? How about news articles? Do any of you ever read the news in English? And what sites do you like to use? That's an open question.
Yeah. Most of that. News articles, of course, a lot. I'm trying to read BBC. You know, Italy is a kind of colony of United States, and so we are colonized by the language, maybe, and so we have to try to stay in touch with the news of the world. And so the BBC is it's a very good, it's not so difficult as the Guardian, for instance.
Right, yes.
For the language, and so you can understand more. And there are a lot of slides, I can say, presentation. And so you have to learn not so much and have the pictures, and so you understand very well what they're trying to explain or show you.
Yeah, that's good. The BBC, and you know, for other people, even if you're struggling with the normal BBC, there's another good site which I'll leave in the comments, which is Newsround. It's really it's directed at children or young people in the UK. I remember even when I was young watching Newsround. But it's good if you're starting to get into the news and you want the language, something that's a bit more basic.
I use different sources for news,
Okay,
but
good.
also Deutsche Welle. It's a German national broadcaster, and they provide their news in 30 languages. It's designed
Great.
for foreigners who live abroad, who live in Germany. So they translate the news that is actually relevant for me into 30 other languages. So there's the connection between the content and the language for me. And for me, I sometimes struggle with translating things I want to say into translating them into English. So they do what I might do when I talk to you, Dave, or so. So this helps me in a way.
That's a good point. Yes, it makes me think as well. I know in France there are similar. I think it's france.com. They have the English language news. In Russia, I know of one that's the rt.com. I used to like it, but then I wasn't convinced about the quality of the news after a while. But it depends what subject you're looking at and what story you're trying to find. But yes, how about in Thailand as well? Do you read the English news here in Thailand, Mark?
Sometimes I try to read the news in English, but there are too many slang and with the short phrases, and most of them I didn't understand the headline of the news, and so I have to search most of the time I try to read. And the source that I should is Bangkok Post,
Yeah,
which is quite famous for the local news that are written in English version.
Yes, I also read that one. I know what you mean about the slang terms, especially in headlines, but I think that's the same also in when I was trying to read Thai newspapers. The headlines are always the absolute killers because they're always trying to be catchy and different and quirky. And yeah, unless you're a native.
We try to attract people attention as quick as possible. And
yeah, so I think once you get into the body of the text, it's much easier to then to read.
That's correct.
Okay, cool. So I want to move on to the next one about the way that we can read. We talked about e-readers and Kindle and maybe using tablets. Would anybody have anything to say about these medium of reading? Does it make a difference? Do you have a preference?
Yeah, that changed my life. The reading on Kindle that really changed my life because it's you don't have to have a big dictionary and have maybe it's the effort to look for the word to understand. It's useful to understand, but it's very with the Kindle it's very easy. I can buy a book and start reading in a few seconds, and then the use of the dictionary with the word, you just have to press the word and you can have the context of the phrase, and you understand a lot. The difficult there, I think, is to take note, to remember, to have something, because there are some words that came a lot of time, and so you have to remember that kind of word that you don't know and how to use it, and it's a process.
Yes,
but it can help.
Right. Okay, thanks. How about other people with your experience with e-readers and books? I know, Natalia, you're a fan of traditional books, are you not?
Yes, but I don't have a Kindle. I have a pocketbook that's also a popular brand, and just in Russia it was really popular. I don't know now, because now I prefer to read paper books. I just decided for myself that for pleasure, for just touching the pages, and for me it's kind of like a process that I have, like a comfortable chair, that you need a comfortable chair, and just maybe just someone needs a cup of tea or just something like that. It's for me like reading paper books, it's a comfort reading. Of course I have a pocket book and I can read, and I was reading maybe for 2 years. I downloaded a lot of books and I read a lot, but then when I was back to reading paper books, so now I continue to buy and to read paper books. So for me, it's really like a pleasure, and I think that reading is kind of entertainment for me, and I prefer in this way, like to read it. Of course, I know that it takes a lot of space for these books, but anyway, I can change. I can, how to say, so I can find this place for these books. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I can understand that. Although I have also my Kindle, and is something I use every day, and for me, it's a great device. Personally, I'm not sure about the one on the right here, which is maybe, I'm not sure if it's a Kindle Fab, but tablets. But I also find with the Kindle a big difference in the fact that it doesn't really strain my eyes. I can look at the screen for a long time because I think it's the electronic ink that they use, which makes it much less intense on the eyes.
It's kind of like blinking, yes, when you're reading on the screen, and that the same. Of course, these inks are healthy for I know, but when you page up and just when you turn the page, see this small blink. It's
yes, that's
destructive.
true.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course it's
yeah.
possible to get used to it, but it's destructive anyway for me.
Okay.
My first job was a librarian, and
Uh-huh.
so I love books. I know I can't live without, but it changed my life really, not just because of the way of reading, but because I can have a lot of books with me, and I can buy everything whenever I want with a e-reader book. So it's helped. It's really helpful.
Yes.
But doesn't change my opinion about the book. I'm a lover of books.
Okay, thank you. Yes. And Mook, how about you? Do you have tablets or Kindle, or do you like hard traditional paper books?
Yes, I like the traditional paper book because I love to feel when I touch it and turn the page. And when I read it a half, I can feel the progress when I draw it. It's half of the total, which
Yeah.
the tablet cannot make this feel.
That's true, yes. Even if it's small, if you have a small indicator
Yeah,
in the bottom,
yes,
it's
yeah.
not quite the same, is it?
It feels good when I turn page by page.
Yes, I can understand that. Yeah, Francesco and I were talking about music in a similar way the other day, whereas the tradition of vinyl or holding something solid, where we said we felt it was an even bigger connection to the music when you're touching something. But Andreas, can I bring you in? What's your experience with the electronic readers and tablets and paper books?
Yes, I also get your point about real books. I use the digital reader of my daughter. I don't have one for me
Does she
alone.
not mind?
No, and especially for the English books, because it's so convenient to look up words, and for me it's a factor of time, of efficiency, because my time is quite limited. If I had enough time, I'd like to concern with English all the day, but it's very limited. So this is a way to consume more in less time. And so because of that, I prefer it at the moment for English books.
Right. Yes. I think definitely they really come into their own when you're reading something in another language. So I think that the time is about to end here again today. Can I first of all take the opportunity to thank everyone for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I'm sorry if we didn't cover everything we wanted to do.
Thank
you
you
very much.
Thank you.
And does anyone have any final comments or questions or requests or suggestions for a topic for next time?
I think it was really exciting topic, and I'm so happy that people are still reading and they like reading, and so just among my colleagues and friends, they are also reading, and so that's a really good point that they try to substitute gadgets to books. That's really awesome. Maybe that in maybe in the years we. Of course, we will be back. We will spend our time efficiently. Yes, because I think that books could help us to find a good way in our life and just to think. They push us to think. They push us to analyze and make us better. I mean, just in general, that we are human beings.
Yes, I know we can really go deep on this topic, but There is also a lot of some of the links which I included in the email talk about ways that we can use reading to help our language learning journey.